guys, welcome to Red Dog Bushcraft. Today, just out checking out a piece of property. It's a beautiful day to take a walk. I thought I'd bring you along and we'll check out a new piece of gear too. It's the Pathfinder alcohol stove. Let's go take a look at it. Okay, so first let's talk about why we would even want to use an alcohol stove. Well, there's times when you're out, and it's like today. I mean, I'm just out on a short scout. I'm only going to be out here for a few hours at the most, and I don't want to spend all of my time making a fire. And I certainly don't want to have to contend with making sure that it's out, since this piece of property is not mine, and I certainly would not want to do anything to scar or to leave a bad impression to the landowner or anyone else using this piece of property right now, and ruin the chance that I would have of being able to use this property more. So there are other reasons. There are those of us who camp and hike in areas that an open fire is not permissible, and there are times in the area that I operate in that we have burn laws in place that you can't have an open fire. But there are also, in those same times, we'd like to have a hot beverage or cook a hot meal or what have you, and this is just a very simple and easy way to do that. Now, in the past, I have used this particular type of stove, and this is just a little Epsit stove, and it works very well. It holds quite a bit of alcohol. I'm not sure exactly how much, but it's plenty enough for me to heat up enough water to rehydrate a meal and to make a beverage also. They do have a little O-ring on them, which comes in handy because if you do not use all of the alcohol in this type of stove, you can simply screw the lid back on and it'll stay secure and you won't have alcohol leaking out inside your pack. Now, I always recommend that you store your alcohol stoves inside of a nice bag, and even double bag it if you're out on a trip and that's what you're depending on, just to make sure that you don't ruin your gear inside your pack. But I've never had a problem with one of them leaking as long as I keep those O-rings in good shape. But today, as I said, I want to review or tell you about, not really review, I'm not much of a gear review guy, but you know, when I first started out doing bushcraft and all, the only kit items that I really used were military surplus gear because that's what I had been brought up around and that's really all I knew about. And I really wish I had had someone to give me some ideas along the way. And just because a particular system works for me does not necessarily mean it's for you, but at least it gives you some tools in your toolbox where you can make a good decision on your own. Okay, so here's the size of the Epsit alcohol stove, and here is the size of the Pathfinder stove. This is made out of a brass material. It's very light, but it has held up extremely well. I do not have a problem as far as the durability goes with this. The only issue that I've had with this stove is if I forget to take the O-ring off, it'll melt. As a matter of fact, it'll catch on fire and burn up, and you have to replace it. So always make sure you remove your O-rings. But that's going to be the same with this particular stove too. Now, this stove is a little bit more robust. It's heavier, and it's made out of stainless steel, and it's approximately twice the size of this Epsit stove. And that's really the reason why I wanted to order this. I've gone through a lot of gear, and I've used everything from titanium to aluminum to brass type materials, just all kinds of stuff out on the market. And I have determined that stainless steel is just the best for me. And the reason I say it's for me is because my treks aren't usually that long, and if they are, I've cut down on my gear enough that I can handle the weight. But for the weight versus the durability, I just prefer to go with stainless steel. This stove also comes with a ring that is much better designed than the last rings that I've gotten in times past with different cooking systems from the Pathfinder school, because this one is smooth on both the bottom and the top. No jagged edges to catch inside my pack. And to use that, you simply squeeze it together a little bit and set it down on top of the stove, and you can utilize the stove that way. Now, I'll remove this top here, and like I said, always make sure that your O-ring is in your top, and you set that off to the side, And we'll go ahead and get this fired up and see how long it takes it to bloom. Now we get the same type regulator device with this stove as we do with the Epson stove, which allows you to control the amount of heat. You know, a lot of times you might not want that full flame coming up. You just want enough to keep your beverage warm or your liquids warm while you're doing your cooking. But for today, we're just going to be using this thing wide open, so I'm not even going to worry about contending with this stove. Now, not at that point, but you can certainly use part of the regulator and the stove at the same time. But like I said, we're going for the full burn, so we're not going to worry about that right now. It would help if that was opened up just a little bit more, but we're not even going to use this today. So I'm just going to set that right back down on top of the stove. And what I was interested in was, you've seen my Pathfinder bottle cup and the nesting stove. And since they've redesigned this stove that it fits loosely within on the outside of the cup, and then the bottle of course fits inside the cup. Sorry about that noise. I really prefer this. It's once again stainless steel. It has some flexibility to it, but yet it's solid enough that I feel like I can put anything that I need on top of it, from my cup right on up to a larger pot. I like that it has some ability built into it, that it blocks some of the wind, because wind is always an issue when you're using one of these stainless steel type. See if I can get this off before it gets too hot. Wind is always an issue whenever you're using these alcohol stoves. Now this is the stove, which is very similar to the one that comes with the cup, that comes with the stainless steel bush pipe. And I can set that on top, and I have no problem with that fitting in there either. I have heard some concerns about how close the top of the burner is to the stove. Well, there's an easy fix for that. If you'll simply take this ring that comes with the alcohol stove and lay that on the ground and use it like a cookie cutter and score the ground, and then take your small trowel that you use when you're going to the bathroom, or cut you a digging stick, and scrape that out and create yourself a hole that this will sit in, but yet this is large enough that will sit over top of the hole. You can alleviate that issue. I've seen people try to prop this thing up by putting sticks and all underneath it, and it's wobbly, and I just don't think that's a good method. When you're out and you're using an alcohol stove, a lot of times weight is an issue, and the last thing you want to be doing is wasting your alcohol. So as you can see, we've got a good burn going there, and I'm just going to use the cup, and we're going to heat us up enough water here that I can make me a cup of coffee. So let me get me about 12 ounces of water in here. And I'll tell you what, instead of you sitting here watching water boil, I'll take a note at a time, and we'll come right back and we'll see how long it takes this stove to boil this about 12 ounces of water. Okay, at this point you can see we've got good steam. We're at coming up on 15 minutes, and we have a good steady boil. This is plenty hot enough for anything that I'll be doing, so I'll be stopping at this point and making my coffee. Okay, so before I put this thing out, let's take a look at what this thing looks like if I can get this off. Alright, and there's what she looks like burning. Not too easy to blow out, that's a good thing. We'll set the snuffer on top of it, and let's see how much of that fuel we used. Okay, we are down about 1 inch in that container. Let's see if I can get that where you can see it. Of course, the alcohol is clear. Okay, from that joint of my finger to the tip is how far down the alcohol was. and it was down about 1/8 of an inch when I started. Almost completely full. Okay, with my coffee made and the cup and everything all cooled back down now, let's try the same thing, but this time we'll use the ring. So let me fire this thing back up, put the ring in place. We've got to get us some more water. And I'm just eyeballing this, but I'm guessing I'm doing about 12 ounces because that's what my cup holds. And we'll set that right on top of that and start the stopwatch again. And let's see, with this particular ring that comes with the stove, how long it takes to achieve that boil. So once again, instead of letting you watch water boil, I'll come back and show you the results. Okay, coming up on 9 minutes, and we have achieved what I think is about the same amount of boil as we did with the last test. Try to get you a good look at that. But we definitely have good bubbles coming up from the bottom all the way around the outer ring of the cup. Now let me move you back here just a minute and let's talk about why we're getting a faster boil time. Okay, move you back, try not to shake you too much. Alright. I think maybe some of the reason that we're doing that is exactly what we were discussing about maybe burying that stove. Look at the difference of the height there of when the stove that comes with the bottle canteen set, the height that the cup would be setting compared to where it's setting now. And I think that's what's making the difference because, as you know, you need a little bit of room to allow that heat to actually make good contact. And we've got an absolute rolling boil at this point, and we're at 9.5 minutes. So at this point, the ring that actually comes with the stove is achieving a better boil time. Okay, so just out of curiosity's sake and for my own knowledge here, I'm going to do the dig the hole trick. Set my alcohol stove in there, pull my dirt back up around that and level it off good so that I have a good steady base for my stand. Let's remove that. Fire the stove back up. And this time we're going to use the pot. Let's see, but that's going to make my water harder to estimate. So let me grab my cup here. That way, this thing has measurements on the inside of it, and I know about how much I was putting in there, which was just a tad below the 16 ounce. So I'll take that and pour that in the pot. I went and got another bottle of water so that we know that it's at ambient temperature. And let's get our stopwatch going, and we'll see how long it takes it to boil this way. Okay guys, we're at 9 minutes and 3 seconds, so at 9 minutes we got a good rapid boil. So what we've established is separating the bottom of that pot from the flame is definitely a good thing. So that little trick of digging it down in the dirt a little bit, staying out of the wind, and it looks like by increasing the surface area by going through the pot versus the cup, we've even cut down on our cooking time even more. Okay, so quickly in closing, let's talk about what comes with the kit. You get the stove itself, the ring, the lid with the rubber O-ring, and this adjusting flame, or what I call the snuffer top. You also get a plastic bottle that holds your fuel, and this bottle will hold this container full of fuel. So I know someone's going to ask, how much did we use? And the only way I can judge that is by taking the bottle that holds the same amount of fluid, filling this back up, and then we'll take a look at what's left. So that's what we had That's how much we used. That fluid level is to right here. There it is compared to my finger. I hope you can see that. My light is going away on me. But overall, a good product. Okay guys, we've got everything put away now, and just a word of caution, it's very important that before you put this cap back on, you let this system cool down completely. It'll really save that rubber gasket, keep it from getting gummy, and that's important. Putting it all back together and ready to use on your next trip is always a good idea. Okay, I just wanted to shoot this a quick demonstration showing some different ways to use this alcohol stove, because I really think it's a great piece of kit. Between the bottle system, the pot, and this alcohol stove, I think they've really come out with a winner here, and I wanted to do this demonstration so that you'd have some food for thought when you start looking at your cooking systems, and especially if you decide to go out and purchase one of these alcohol stoves. Thanks for the Pathfinder School for coming out with this. I'll look forward to using it a lot more. Until next time, guys, I'm Tim Langston with Red Dog Bushcraft, home of global safety and survival. God bless.